Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling a mystery that I'm pretty sure you've wondered about in the produce aisle. We're talking about that dusty, white film you see on grapes. Is it a good thing, a bad thing? Well, let's get into it. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You're at the grocery store, you pick up a beautiful bunch of grapes, but they're covered in this whitish, kind of powdery coating, and your first thought is probably, are these okay? Should I even buy them? And you're not alone in thinking that. It's a super common concern. A lot of us see that film and immediately think it must be leftover pesticides or maybe just dirt, or even worse, the start of mold. And honestly, that confusion leads to a lot of perfectly good fruit getting tossed out, which is a real shame.
Okay, but what if I told you that this white coating is not only not a bad thing, but it's actually a sign of quality you should be actively looking for? Yeah, we're about to bust a huge myth about your fruit.
So let's just get right to the answer. That white film actually has a name, and once you know what it is, you'll be able to pick the absolute best grapes every single time.
So that white stuff, it's called bloom, and it's a completely natural waxy coating that the grape literally produces itself. You can think of it as the grape's own personal, all-weather bodyguard, built right in.
And this bloom is a total multitasker. Seriously, it does so much. It acts like a natural raincoat, locking moisture inside so the grape stays plump and juicy. It also works as a shield, fending off bacteria and mold, and even protecting the grape's delicate skin from the sun's UV rays. It's basically nature's perfect preservative.
Now here is the real game changer. That bloom is super delicate. It rubs off really easily. So when you see a thick, even layer of it, that's a telltale sign that the grapes haven't been handled very much since they were picked. It's a genuine seal of quality, telling you they are fresh.
And if that wasn't cool enough, get this. That dusty film is loaded with the wild yeasts that are absolutely essential for fermentation. That's right. Without the bloom, you wouldn't have wine. So it's not just a coating, it's a living, functional part of the fruit.
Okay, so bloom is great. We love bloom. But you still have to be a smart shopper, because sometimes a white substance on your grapes is not so friendly.
What it really boils down to is learning to tell the difference between the good stuff, the natural bloom, and two other things you might see: chemical residue from pesticides and, of course, harmful mold. And that worry about pesticides? It's not totally out of nowhere. Grapes are pretty consistently on the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen list. That's a list that calls out the produce with the highest levels of pesticide residue. This is exactly why it's so important to know what you're looking at and, of course, how to wash your fruit the right way. It just gives you that control and peace of mind. So the big question is, how can you be sure what you're seeing? Well, this next part is your practical, hands-on guide. I promise. After this, you'll be able to walk into any store and know exactly what's on those grapes with total confidence. All right, this is your ultimate cheat sheet. Here's what to look for. Natural bloom is going to be a uniform, powdery white film that wipes away easily with your thumb, revealing a shiny grape underneath. Pesticide residue, on the other hand, usually looks patchy or splotchy, and it doesn't just rub off. And then there's mold, which is in a league of its own. If you see anything fuzzy, hairy, discolored, or if the grape feels mushy and smells off, that is a definite no-go. So, now that you're an expert at telling what's what, let's talk about the best way to get those grapes perfectly clean and ready to enjoy. Look, it's a really simple process. Just a good rinse under cool, running water while you gently rub them with your fingers is usually plenty. But if you want some extra peace of mind, especially with non-organic grapes, you can soak them for about 10 or 15 minutes in a bowl of water with a little baking soda or white vinegar. That just helps break down any residues. Then you just give them one last rinse and you're good to go. Now, listen up, because if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this one. Never, ever wash your grapes until you are literally about to eat them. Why? Because washing them removes that amazing protective bloom we just talked about. Plus, it adds moisture. That combination is like a super highway to mushy grapes and mold. So, to make them last as long as possible, just store your unwashed grapes in the fridge, preferably in that ventilated bag they came in. Oh, and one more pro tip: if you see one or two grapes starting to go bad, pull them out right away. That'll keep the rest of the bunch happy and healthy. Do all that, and they can easily stay fresh for up to 2 weeks. So there you have it. This completely flips the script, doesn't it? That white film you might have been trying to avoid is actually nature's stamp of approval. It's a sign of a fresh, healthy, well-cared-for fruit. So the only question left is, now that you know, will you start seeking it out? Thanks for watching.